Welcome back to another episode on the British Maritime Training and Assessments podcast on maritime careers and training. And today we are looking at the first voyage, heading to sea for the first time. And once again, I have Sam Samuels with us on this episode. Morning, Sam. How are we?
All good, Owen. Thanks very much indeed.
Good, good. So today we're looking at heading to sea for the first time, and we're going to be covering what we call our top tips, our top rules, our own experiences, and sort of advice for those who are looking to go to sea for the first time. So both of us have been there. We've both done it. I was 18 when I went to sea back in 2012. And my first ship was on a Commodore Goodwill, so a Condor vessel going to and from the Channel Islands. Not the most exciting place to go, especially after like the 20th time, but it very good route, lots of experience on there, and I think the growing up rate is quite large. What was your first time going to sea like?
A bit scary, different environment totally to the Merchant Navy in many respects. Very cramped mess decks, 30 or 40 people living in the same area, so you had to learn to get on. And in fact, the reality of it was the first time I went to sea was actually sailing for the Falklands. I volunteered to go to the Falklands. Unfortunately, I got sent back because I was deemed as too expensive, but it was certainly a bit of an eye-opener and very scary the first time. It's not only for me, but for family back home. And that sort of thing continued later on in life when you were going away for the longer periods of time, the uncertainty and in many respects, lack of communication.
Yeah, we'll be doing an episode on managing life away from home, both for shoreside and seago personnel. Because again, it's a big fact, so it can be quite strenuous. So, uh, but again, that advice in terms of going to sea for the first time, I know myself and yourself, Sam. We talk about this a lot in our day-to-day jobs and our tutorial sessions. We do sessions on go to sea. But for me, when I was a cadet back in, like I said, 2011, I don't think we really got the expectations set sort of correctly on what to do. I think going to sea, they express what it's like, what it's going to look like, what you have to do, but actually the stuff behind the scenes of what you have to do in terms of preparing yourself before you go, and advice on what to take, how to communicate with people, what plans to put in place. So hopefully we can cover some of those things in this. So rule number one, Sam. Do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, you've got to let people know you're not going on holiday. It's very difficult. You leave, everyone sees you going on a vessel. Even worse if you're going on a cruise line and they just assume you're off on a cruise. But the reality is you're going to work. They're going to expect you to work up to 14 hours a day. You're going to be very, very tired. You're not going to have the same opportunities for communication. And it's difficult because people can't picture what you're going to do. And in many respects, if it's your first time away, it's very difficult for you to explain. But you definitely are not going on holiday. You've got to plan for taking your life with you, and that's your working life.
Yeah, and I think this expectation that you're going to get off in every port again, it's not always the case, especially if you're on the sort of engineering sort of side. A lot of the time you have to do the maintenance, to do the planned maintenance, to do the overhauls will be during tie overs, so alongside where there's quiet periods where you shut machinery down. And that's the same for the deck officers, really. Where you're doing the what we call the port watches and keeping an eye on what's going on in terms of security, it's not always the case. And I actually put a LinkedIn post the other day up, and one of my old chief engineers, Callan Radder, he actually commented it on and said, "Is that Centurion one of the vessels that I sailed on with him?" And he said it's completely changed now. I remember when I was a cadet, we were in Brazil. We used to go shoreside, explore Rio, Santos, etc. We had a great time with the chief engineer. He took me sort of under his wing, and he said it just doesn't happen anymore. It's changed. So certainly that expectation for both yourself and family and friends, you're not going on a holiday. So that's number one rule: you are not going on holiday. So number two, there's no guarantee you will have Wi-Fi or a phone signal.
Yep, sadly, there's a belief that as much work has been done to get Wi-Fi. The Nautilus has driven it hard to try and get it so seafarers have communication. But you can't odds it. You can't odds bad weather. You can't odds where you are around the world. You can't odds the fact that equipment will go down. Even domestically, for your Wi-Fi to go down is frustrating. But when you're at sea, that puts you totally out of communication with family. And also, the sad thing is, in many cases, you have to pay for it, and it doesn't come cheap.
Yeah, I know a lot of the vessels don't have it. Some of the cruise ships do have the opportunity to have it on board, but certainly not all of them. So again, being aware of what is available, what isn't available is going to be key. And again, set on those expectations. I remember when I was at sea, we didn't have all the options, and I actually took one of the old Kindle keyboards with me. Do you remember those? They had the built-in 3G,
Yeah.
and it was the only way I could get internet. The other thing that I used to do is I used to find that the new, high tech sort of mobile phones, getting phone signal off the coast and bits and bobs like that weren't as readily available. And the old Nokia bricks were the best for getting phone signal, that you used to
Really?
get
Yeah.
huge signal ranges. So again, perhaps two mobile phones, one with an international SIM and one with sort of a local SIM that you can just sort of top up is probably a good bit of advice.
Yeah, we'll talk about phones in a bit more detail later on. But yes, certainly think about it. Give it some consideration. Even do your own research. There's lots of websites, lots of people post advice. But I suppose the rule is just let people know at home that it's not going to be like living around the corner.
Yeah, you're not going to just be able to pick up your phone and sort of respond straight away. So, rule 3, plan for all eventualities.
It doesn't come easy. You've got to look at the bad side of things. Regrettably, while you're away, things will happen to you, things will happen to family. So you've got to sit and you've got to look at life, and we'll give you a few pointers in a minute. But you do have to plan for the worst and hope for the best. Even to the point I say to people, if you've got an elderly relative that and you're going to be away for some length of time, it's always worth popping along, especially if they're in poor health, and just saying hello. We're not encouraging you to go and say, oh, there might be a chance you're going to die while I'm away, but certainly go and see them, go and give them the confidence that you're still around. And sometimes that's all it takes, and sometimes it can put people at ease. So that's one of the key areas that I suggest people certainly think about. Go and talk to elderly relatives and family primarily before you go away.
Yeah, and certainly put sort of a support network in place. We'll go over what that looks like in a minute, but make sure you're prepped for all sort of eventualities and what's going on. So that's rule 3, plan for all eventualities. So with that in mind, then it's looking holistically at those points. I think setting expectations with your family is really sort of a key aspect, and your friends. So no matter what they think and no matter what they portray is going to happen, it's never the same. So when I went to see my mom, was so excited. Great, Owen's going to become an officer. This, that, and the other. And then within 1 month, she's texting me. She's trying to phone me. She's, oh, Owen, it's been so long without seeing you. When can I see you, etc. And actually, when you're in the zone and you're doing it, you do get on with it if you can manage your well-being and your anxiety and those type of things. It then becomes more difficult for those who are just sat at home, sort of not recognizing what you're about, not recognizing the fact that you're coming home every day like your mom and dad are used to. So again, they might be sat there really struggling. They might be sat there thinking you're on a jolly. That expectation of, oh, it's all okay, it's not quite as easy as that, is it?
No, and you've got to be careful what you let people know. Obviously, you are going to work hard, but again, people worry because you're going to have disturbed sleep patterns, and the big one that a lot of people don't know, have never worked it out, but seasickness. Seasickness is very debilitating, and unfortunately, on a vessel, although you're seasick, you'll still be expected to carry on and do your duties. There's no going to bed and hoping it passes. It's pretty grim. And alongside it, you're on a moving platform. You're up and down ladders, and it is really, really tiring. So when you get time off, maybe you don't want to sit down and make a phone call or even get some communications back home. All you want to do is get into your bed and get a few hours sleep.
Yeah, and especially those with partners. Okay, so if you are in a relationship at the moment, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever it might be, again, setting expectations with them is huge. Even now, I hear other cadets and I speak to them, and they're talking like, oh, my missus was texting me this, that, and the other, and actually, it can be very supportive, but at the same time, it can be quite a hindrance as well, because especially on your mind, if there's giving you feedback that is concerning, you do feel a little bit helpless. So setting the expectations to them and saying, look, I am thinking about you, I am there, but we are working. Again, it can go a long way to making life easier for everyone's sake. So, as part of rule 3, setting expectations for all eventualities, we have this saying, don't we, Sam? Plan for the worst, hope for the best.
We do. And to that end, you have to write a will. I'm amazed at the number of people who say to me, I sit in the class and I explain to people the need for a will, but they go, well, I've got nothing. And then when you point out death in service benefit, even down to your wishes of what you wish to happen with maybe your car or maybe some of your little mementos, you expect them to go to somebody, but once you're gone, other people have their input, and the wills can be the thing that makes life a lot easier for other people. If you've got certain wishes, get them down, but you don't have to spend a lot. You can get one from the post office or a stationer's. Write it in simple English. Yeah, you don't have an awful lot, but as you get older and get a bit wiser, you get children, you get dependents, then yes, you seriously have to think about correcting it.
And certainly, we're going to be releasing this podcast in around, or this episode of the podcast in November. And actually, there's Will Aid runs within November, which is many of the solicitors who produce wills will do it for free with a small donation to a charity. So again, you can potentially get a will at very low cost and actually supporting a cause of your choice at the same time. So there are things like that, and checking things out like Money Saving Expert. There's lots of advice on wills in those aspects. So certainly with the wills, have a consideration about it. Consider how to do it cheaply but effectively. Make sure those who are in your will know what's going on. It could be even considerations of organ donations, or how you want to be, how your final send off is: buried, cremated, favorites, songs, etc. So it is a bit of a morbid conversation, but I think it is an important aspect, because you just don't know what's going to happen. Okay. Also, with planning for every eventuality, your motor vehicle, you are potentially going away for months at a time, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, whatever it might be. What you don't want to do is come back to a lovely letter from the DVLA.
Exactly. If you don't tax your vehicle, if you don't insure it, if you don't use a SORN, statutory off-road notification, and someone sees your vehicle, then they will go looking for you. The other thing to bear in mind is a lot of people say to somebody in the family, you're more than welcome to use the car, they're insured. But my advice is to write a letter of authority to say that you are giving them authority to drive this vehicle. If they get pulled over, whilst the police may check the insurance and see they're on there, they may also question why they're driving the vehicle. Shoreside, they can phone you up and find out, but if you happen to be halfway across the world in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, you've got no contact. So if you have a letter which you've signed, and they can then present that will go some way to making sure it's safe.
Brilliant. So yeah, always ensure it's taxed, insured, and with MOT or SORN on it, and ensure that someone is responsible back home for making those decisions on your behalf as they require. The other thing to consider is, if you are lending out your car, speeding tickets. Yep. So that they might be in charge of it. They might be happy to look after the vehicle for you. But, worst case scenario, if maybe you got a speeding ticket before you went away, or they do, and no one picks up that letter, things can escalate quite quickly. So certainly things to be considerate of. So that leads us to ensuring that you have a trustworthy person at home. Now, who that person is open for debate. Typically, it's going to be probably a parent or a very close loved one, but you're after someone who is going to be acting on your behalf. Again, give them written permission to do so. Contact the companies or those who you feel they may need to get in touch with. So it could be something as simple as a lost bank card or mobile phone, or even needing to deal with insurance claims, renewals, or whatever it might be. Ask someone sensible and trustworthy to act on your behalf. And as you mentioned, Sam, making sure that they have a letter of or authority or authenticity that you can sign to make sure that they have permission. Again, we need to be thinking about all scenarios and sort of a just in case sort of aspect. And that sort of goes on to sort of what we sort of said. It could be an online query, it could be a telephone appointment that needs to be addressed or an issue. It could even be an in-person one. So going back to those key things, speeding fines, for example, unexpected bills, road tax, insurance, even a call up for jury, you do need someone who's in a position to speak on your behalf.
And you've also have to give them authority to open your mail when it comes through the door.
Okay. Now, again, before you go to sea, another bit of an aspect to certainly consider is backing up all electronic devices, but make sure you have all your details in a book or somewhere secure. Things do happen. I was on board ship once, and my laptop was on the desk at the time, and we hit some pretty terrible weather. I came back and found it on the floor with the screen bent and snapped off. So there I was with no laptop for the rest of the voyage. And these things do happen. It was my fault. Lesson learnt, I assure you. But again, fortunately for me, I had everything backed up on a hard drive. Mobile phones, again, make sure you have all your important contact numbers in a book or something, especially if, your battery dies and you're in the middle of nowhere and you need to remember that one key number. Now, I don't know what you're like, Sam, but I'm terrible with numbers. And being able to look it up in my notebook was a godsend, really.
Yeah, a good old-fashioned address book goes a long way. We become very reliant on electronic communication, electronic devices, and yeah, they work really well. But this special book, and like Owen says, you've got to keep it secure. You can write in code if you've got numbers, etc., that you want to put in there, as long as you remember what codes you're using. But yeah, if you're stuck at an airport and your phone has gone down and you need to phone someone, then you need to make sure you've got a list of those important people. There's nothing worse. And as I said, everything's on your phone these days or on your laptop. Try and transfer it across to somewhere else, or even put it onto another memory stick that can be accessed from a device.
Yeah, and share those details with a trusted person, but in a sealed, countersigned envelope. That's only to be used in emergencies, then you're aware of what's going on. But there's nothing worse than being stranded somewhere without financial support or contact. So fortunately for me, it's never happened yet. Hopefully it doesn't, but these things, they do happen.
Yeah,
And we have heard of some stories where it's occurred. And I tell you what, one definitely to keep Nautilus number.
yeah, they'll help you.
Yeah. So if you're really in the sticks there, Nautilus can bail you out. So a few things definitely to have written down then. So bank details, credit card numbers, loan agreements, etc. Mobile phone account details, insurances, a photocopy, and your passport and discharge book details. That's absolutely vital. If you lose your passport and have issues like that, it can be an absolute nightmare. So again, having a photocopy or a photo plus the numbers and details written down may go a long way of getting you out of trouble. And get yourself a list of all your contacts in your phone directory that you may need in an emergency. And like we said, including that Nautilus telephone number. As we sort of mentioned, have a cheap, simple phone and a global SIM card. It is well worth backing up data to another cheap phone with it complete with a charger with a global SIM. Again, the other good thing about using this phone, maybe a top-up one rather than a contract one, is racking up an expensive bill.
Yeah, too many people do it. They want to phone home, they forget the cut price of a phone call, and they're just using their phone, forgetting that maybe they don't have global roaming, and it soon starts to rack up. And the other thing to bear in mind is in today's world where theft is so so prevalent wherever you go, again, it's hard, but if you just take a simple phone that you want to use when you go ashore, it means that your pride and joy, your £800 to £1,000 worth of mobile phone is actually safe on board and away from thieving hands. So I strongly advise a second phone, especially for the fact that you may lose one may get damaged, and make sure that both SIM cards have the emergency details backed up on them.
Yeah. In terms of financial considerations, think about getting a credit card. Now, it's not everyone's cup of tea. Some people swear by them. Some people want to avoid them like anything. But there is a good reason for it. So apply for it as soon as you can before going to sea for the first time. But use it primarily as a get out of jail free card. It might be something as desperate as your flights get cancelled, you're running out of comms, you're struggling to get home, and it could be that emergency hotel stay, it could be food, it could be an emergency telephone call, medical insurance,
Yeah,
or medical cover rather, and flights home. So never withdraw cash on it though, because they do come with a hefty bit of interest rate, on a daily basis, and always pay it off before the interest-free sort of product.
yeah, I've used credit cards throughout my time at sea, and it has been useful. The number of times you get somewhere, even for simple life, if you get to a hotel and you think this is a bit of a mistake, you want to move on because it is a bit of a hellhole. If you haven't got the cash but you've got a credit card, yes, you're going to have to pay for it eventually, but it can make life so much easier. And as we do say, my one bit of advice is use it before you go away. That's a certainty, just to make sure it goes through the system. Find out how you're going to pay it off. And then the final one is always pay off the balance each month. It won't cost you a penny then. If you miss it, then the interest rates will wrap up. But seriously, you've got to get onto it and make sure you manage it correctly.
Yeah, and some of them you do get those promotional periods, don't you, with like so many months interest free as long as you pay the balance off and bits and bobs like that. And the other thing it can be really useful for is instances such as hire cars or a room deposit where you might not have that size of the money sort of sat there. It can get you out of the jail there. So in addition to that, think about an additional debit card. So these days you can even get virtual debit cards,
Yeah.
which can be really useful. You could even look at third-party travel cards. I think Monzo, Post Office, Revolut, just some of the ones that come to name, where they don't charge you high conversion rates, and actually you can convert the money on your phone there and then and keep an eye on it. So it can also, with those travel cards, family and friends can top it up if you're in a bit of trouble and support you there. And again, Chase, for example, have a similar system there. So shop around. Don't just take our named sort of systems, because again, we're not here to recommend a particular bank or anything. So go make your own decisions. Have a look what's available, and heed the advice of an additional debit card.
Just as a quick one on top of that, Martin Lewis gives good advice. Always worth having a look at that. And the side benefit to it is the fact that it will improve your credit rating. If you just use cash, you won't get a credit rating. And later on in life, when you want to make big purchases, such as house, if you've got a good credit record, then that will help.
Yeah. On that note, emergency currency. Don't carry tons of it, but having some cash available is always worth doing. US dollars and euros seem to be the big one. Again, euros in the European region, you're pretty good, but I found US dollars has been sort of an international money language almost in most sort of spaces. But again, where you keep that money is probably pretty key.
Yeah, even now when I go on holiday, I have a money belt which I keep in my waistband, obviously for the major travelling. If I'm just pootling around day to day, then I don't worry about it too much. But yeah, I use a money belt. I've got small notes of US dollars Again, just habit more than anything else. But primarily in Europe, euros will cover it. But again, it's something to ask for. If you're going to see for the first time and someone says, "What can I give you?" Say, "I'd like some small denominations of US dollars or euros," just so that you can put them in a money belt or an ankle bracelet, something like that, so you can hide it away.
Yeah. And in terms of healthcare, obviously, since we came out of the European Union, there's other things to consider. It used to be the old EHIC card, but now it's the GHIC card, Global Health Insurance card. So certainly, without doubt, go and get one of these. Go. It can be a absolute lifesaver. But your companies will ensure your medical welfare is looked after. However, there's no harm in being prepared. So apply for one of these sort of cards ASAP. Make sure your vaccines and everything are up to date. Make sure you're aware of where you're going. Potentially look at things such as malaria tablets and other aspects like that. Even the old anti-diarrhea tablets. So all of these type of things are really important. And with COVID bouncing around still, that dreaded word, remember to pack face mask and hand luggage and other aspects as well. Even down to things such as paracetamol, ibuprofen. Make sure you know what you can take, what the guidelines are on the countries you're going to, and any personal medication you may be required to take, such as asthma inhalers, skin treatment, or contraception. So, in terms of your own personal products, whilst Lugger Spears has limited things, you really do want to be considering is soaps, sanitary sort of products, deodorant, body wash, whatever it might be. Make sure you're aware of what's going on. Make sure you're happy with all of the cleaning remedies that you've got, toothpaste, toothbrushes, etc. Although you should be able to pick these up internationally, obviously it gets a little bit more difficult when you're on board ship.
Yeah, and if you're stuck at sea for any great length of time, whilst most vessels have somewhere where you can obtain equipment, sometimes, as they found during COVID, vessels were stuck out for a very long period of time and there was a panic. My top tip is don't buy shower gel, buy soap. It's lovely, it hardens up, it makes all your stuff smell nice in the drawer, and it lasts a lot longer and it's a lot lighter to carry.
Yeah. So useful items for consideration. So just things to take in addition to a laptop or something like that. Certainly it can help keep you busy, perhaps with your favorite movies or TV shows or games on it.
Can we just add, Owen, be careful what's on your laptop. It's a modern day world and some countries will want to examine your laptop. So if you've got something on there that your grandmother wouldn't want to see, then make sure it's not on there.
Yeah, perhaps the port state authorities wouldn't want to see it either. But a couple of additional flashlight, 100%, one or two. It's when all the lights go out, it doesn't matter if you're on deck, in the engine room, anywhere. Having that flashlight is going to be absolutely vital. Plugs, chargers.
Doesn't matter what type of vessel you're going to, I would suggest a multi-charger. You could be stuck at an airport, you could be put in a hotel. So multi-chargers, maybe at least one or two, will never do you any harm. Even if you never take it out your suitcase, you've always got it standing by just in case.
Yeah. Cameras and notebooks. Cameras great for capturing experiences, but also while you're training and doing your cadetship, taking photos to support your TRBs, the training record books, and notebooks for taking notes on the job, absolutely vital. And again, power banks and things like that, very, very useful. So in addition to that, binoculars, again, really useful, especially if you're just off the shore and you want to have a look at what's going on. I remember when we were out in Rio and we wanted to see the old Jesus statue at the top of the mountain. Again, couldn't get ashore to see it, but certainly got to have a good look at it through binoculars. So again, really, really important sort of aspect. So in terms of considerations, don't underestimate the amount of time you're away. So make sure, as you mentioned, to speak to your elderly relatives before you leave. Birthdays.
Oh, don't forget birthdays. It's very hard. You can guarantee that someone will not understand your position and they will expect to have a birthday card. My advice is, in my case, My other half or my mum always had a good list of people's birthdays. And before I went away, I sat down and said, who have I got to remember? And we went through, we wrote the cards, we put them in envelopes, and at the appointed time, they were either sent off or hand delivered. It goes a long way. People expect you still to be around even if you're at sea. So again, I would suggest you do that. And again, any presents. If you want to buy someone a present, do it now. Don't try and send it when you're overseas. The chances are it won't arrive.
Yeah, and things like Moonpig and other digital card sending websites that are out there and available, you can actually preset them to send with gifts. Might cost you a little bit more, but again, it's probably a key sort of thing to remember. So prior to departure, prior to leaving, fully read any travel instructions so you know exactly where you're going and when. We have seen where cadets have gone to wrong location, wrong time, wrong airports, and let's just say training managers are not very happy about it.
No, and also not understanding time zones as well. Got to make sure you understand time zones. And hard though it is, the 24-hour clock. You know, the number of people who turn up at 8 o'clock thinking it's 8 o'clock in the evening when it was actually 0800 will get them into difficulty.
Yeah, print off your tickets, vouchers, travel instructions again, and you might lose signal. You might lose your phone. You might lose internet, whatever it might be. Having hard copies is going to be vital. Always keep your TRB, a training record book, in your hand luggage, and obviously discharge books, passports. Keep them on your close person. And if in any doubt, ask your training manager or whoever's supporting you at your training establishment for advice. They will always be happy to do so. And for those of you who are going away with a partner, wife, husband, whatever it might be back home, there are big things to consider. So being apart from loved ones, it is difficult for both of you, probably more for them than you, but then vice versa. Perhaps you might be busy all the time, or actually you might be quiet and actually you realize you're missing out on quite a lot. Those with little ones, particularly, those big milestones that you might be missing can be difficult. So if you are having those telephone calls, maybe some code words or some secret ways of putting things across might be useful.
Yeah, it can be a bit embarrassing, especially if you are on some of these links that will get to your shore side. I've been in areas where everybody is listening into your phone call, and for you to be using sometimes words of affection can be a bit embarrassing. So sometimes if you create a code word or a phrase between the two of you, and you just throw in that one word, people realize that you are actually thinking about them, and maybe they'll understand that there's a reason why you're not saying that you love them or you miss them, etc., etc.
Yeah, so it's just finding the right balance. It doesn't make it right, the stigma around it, but do what's right for you. Read the room, read the personnel you're with, and keep yourself under the radar, but in the right way. So for the romantics, never miss a birthday or Valentine's or things like that. If those are things that you sort of regularly celebrate and share experiences with loved ones, make sure you've got a backup plan. In the modern world, we do have these resources, like I said, scheduled emails, scheduled cards, and things like that. If you have children, try recording a series of bedtime stories. I know that's certainly something that you did.
Yeah, I used to do quite a bit of it, and yeah, it's a bit embarrassing when you come back afterwards and you hear them. But at least they get to know your voice. They know that you're thinking about them. They can't work out where you are, and it just keeps a bond going.
Yeah. So finally, to wrap this up, no matter how old you may be, you will be expected to manage your own life. I think it's a big thing I sort of say to some of the cadets who come in at 16, 17, 18 is, you've barely started to get yourself out of bed on time, let alone go to sea. So be ready, follow the guidance, set your expectations, because it is going to be a big, quick growing up procedure. I know it certainly was for me. I remember coming back from when I was about 18, 19, and all my mates were like, blimey, don't you do this anymore? Don't you do that? And it just becomes second nature not to. You just grow up so fast. So make sure you're prepared for that. Read all the instructions in plenty of time. Don't miss flights. Don't go to the wrong airport. It will not go down well. If you're unsure, unsure of anything, ask in plenty of time. Don't leave it last minute because it won't go down well. It will be an adventure, and I think it is definitely something to embrace and enjoy. I know we set expectations, but it is a fantastic life if you make the most of it.
Yeah, you've just got to plan. You've got to think, use all the information that's out there. If you go on holiday and forget your best trainers, it's not the end of the world because you'll be back home in a week to 2 weeks later. Forget key equipment when you go to sea for 3 months or 4 months, depending on how they send you away. It's going to be devastating. So get yourself sorted out, and then you can really sit back and enjoy what's going on.
Yeah, so enjoy the process, prepare for it, take the advice and guidance through this podcast, through these episodes, and from those around you. Obviously, things change. Going to see changes. So always follow the guidance given to you by your trainer manager and the company. But that just leaves me to say thanks once again for listening into the podcast. And for anyone who can afford any amount, please do visit our Charity of the Year page and donate anything you can afford or you feel you're willing to give. And that leaves me to say thank you very much and see you next time.